Welcome back to episode 121 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. As you can tell, took the show out on the road again. Uh, Dodger Stadium, opening week. Dodgers play the Braves tonight. Uh, Kyle, you're in your normal place, but
Mhm.
you were at the Reading Phillies Media Day. So we both have been very busy, and we're gonna touch into it. And we have things that we want to discuss. But before we get into all of that, Kyle, how are you doing? Because I know you've been busy.
Yeah, man. I've been great. Getting back into the swing of things. I got to watch the Yankees over the weekend, all games, and
Cheaters? No, just kidding.
we're gonna talk about it with the torpedo bats. But no, to answer your question, I've been doing great. And then, you know, kind of a little bit today was the first taste of our, getting really back into it with the Reading Phillies Media Day. It was really cool. You're gonna see those videos come out within the next couple of days. Yeah, just great stuff. It's amazing to be back into it. I miss baseball, man. So it's been great. But yeah, how have you been doing, man?
Been doing great. It has been fun being back here at the ballpark on a pretty much daily basis. Um, Dodgers are undefeated, 5-0. Not complaining. Special emotional weekend. Dodgers. We finally got to see the banner raised. Finally got to see the pennant flag raised in center field. And then Friday night, we finally got to see the rings and see the players get them. So it was an emotional weekend. Dodgers beat a pretty good Tigers team that I think is going to be in the postseason. Um, during at the end of this season. But it was so nice for the Dodgers to get recognized for one final time for their championship in last season. And like I said, like that's it. Like the players got their rings. We have the banner. That I can see the flag in center field right now. That's it. Like you're not gonna hear that much anymore about it from me. Like we moved on. Honestly, it was a perfect storm Friday night. It looked like the Dodgers were honestly going to lose, and I know some people were not happy with some of the calls that were made during the game Friday night. But um, when Mookie Betts hit that three-run walk-off home run in the 10th inning, it was almost like, all right, we're closing a chapter on last season. Like that, that's it. You know, it was perfect. Like Dodgers got their rings, they were in their gold uniforms. Mookie hits the walk off, and that's it. The next night, like, hey, Dodgers are back in their normal uniforms. We're not talking about it anymore. We're trying to repeat. So it was very special Friday night. The closing of last season with the rings and Mookie hitting that walk off. So, but you asked how I'm doing again. I do that again, where I ramble on for a half hour, but doing fantastic. Dodgers off to a great start, and we got another three games against a winless Braves team, and we will touch on one of their players momentarily, because turns out maybe Will Smith was right. I don't know. Seems like he was, but we'll touch upon it momentarily. But the things that we want to discuss today, the torpedo bats, that's been a big discussion in Major League Baseball. I've heard a lot of people's opinions about it. We're finally going to give ours in a couple minutes here. The Jerks and Profar Suspension that just got broke within the last hour and a half. So that's, well, to me, it's funny, but maybe not to everybody else. But, we're also going to touch upon the Marlins, who all their wins have come in walk-off fashion, which is kind of crazy. And then obviously we'll touch on my Dodgers just a little bit. I just gave you pretty much like the weekend wrap a couple seconds ago, and then Colton Cowser, he's hurt. He's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, so that's unfortunate for an Orioles team. But let's not waste any time because I am kind of on the clock a little bit now. Torpedo bats. So I don't even want to know. Okay, so I didn't even know this, but so the Yankees started. I think it started Thursday that they were starting to use like these bats that the barrel is a little bit wider than the other part of the bat. Um, I think it was Jazz Chisholm who first started using it. I know, and I found out today, and I didn't even know this, that apparently Giancarlo Stanton used a torpedo bat all throughout the postseason last year, which a little ironic. Huh? NLCS ALCS MVP, 7 home runs in the postseason. But um, It's been a big topic of discussion. It seems like everybody that is not in touch with baseball thinks it's cheating.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it. Like, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't do it. There's other things that are illegal. You can't put torque in a bat. You can't do that. There's certain things that you cannot do. But making the barrel a little bit wider, I have no issues with it. And listen, this is the thing that I go back to with Barry Bonds. Like, yes, I understand he got, but he PEDs and everything like that, or supposedly, but um, at the end of the day, you still have to track the ball with your eye, and you still have to swing at it. Like, just because, yeah, it does just because the barrel's a little bit wider doesn't mean you're gonna connect on it every time. Does it help? Yeah, sure it does. But you still have to have a great eye, and you still have to have hand-eye coordination to put the bat on the ball. So me personally, I have no issues with it. It just sucks that the Yankees had this historic weekend against the Brewers where they hit 9 home runs on Saturday. Now Aaron Judge did not use it, but he still had an incredible weekend. I think he hit like what 5 or 6 home runs over the Brewers this weekend, but
yeah,
something like that. And you know how I know people around baseball, like the players, don't have an issue with it because they're ordering bats too. We
yeah.
heard it from Mikey that now some of the Phillies players just ordered those bats. I think I saw some of the Twins players over the weekend. It hasn't trickled yet here to the Dodgers, but maybe it won't. Maybe Otani Betts or Freeman won't use it or Teoscar, but I could see a Miguel Rojas or a Andy Pajes giving it a shot. Like, why not? But to me, I have no issues with it. It's perfectly legal. There's nothing in the rule book that says you can't do it. Honestly, I would be disappointed if uh, the commissioner's office came down and said, no, you can't do this anymore. Like, I would have a problem with that. Then why put it in the rule book in the first place? But that's just my 2 cents, Kyle. I know you're a little bit closer to this because your team kind of kickstart this whole thing, and for some people, created outrage throughout the baseball world. But just kind of where are you on this? I think you're with on the same side as me. But
Yeah, no, for sure I am. This is something that like it's been legal and
right,
it's been used in the past. Maybe not the torpedo itself, but kind of creating these bats to the player itself. That's kind of what this whole thing is. It's not really the fact that you're no one torpedo bat is going to be the same as the others because they're curated to the player itself. So Jazz Chisholm Jr., when he hits the ball, he hits it more on the end of the bat. So you're going to want to make that a little bit bigger than what the rest of it is.
right,
And at the same time, you got to remember I mean, at the end of the day, you're still hitting the ball, and that's exactly what Jazz is doing. It's hitting on his sweet spot itself, not necessarily Judge's sweet spot or Volpe's or Wells, whoever it is. You know, obviously the Yankees use them a lot, and that kickstarted the whole discussion, everything else. And hey, it seems to be working. They set franchise records over the weekend, and they're popping off for 35 runs in an opening weekend. It's nuts. Um, but at the same time, like you said, there's been other players that are using it. It's getting into Major League Baseball more. More teams are using them. It's not just the Yankees. This isn't a Yankees thing. And this really reminds me a lot of like the Dodgers situation with the deferrals.
yep,
You know, every team can do it, but don't get mad when your team's choosing not to when another team is having success with it. Look at the Dodgers. They're spending all this money having success, things like that, but any team in Major League Baseball can do it. And I think it's even a little bit better than the Dodgers situation because bats don't cost $1 billion.
right,
So in that case, it's like I don't see the outrage, but I think it's funny you kind of mentioned diehard baseball fans really wouldn't have an issue with this because it's in the rule book.
right,
People have been doing it for years, curating bats to the player's specific style. And my cousin today, he's a baseball fan, but he's more NFL and NBA and stuff like that. And he texted me and he was like, "Yankees cheating again." I was like, "No, that's not at all the case. It's all perfectly legal. There's nothing in the rule books that say the Yankees can't do it, or any team for that matter." And like you mentioned, Mikey told us that the Phillies are starting to order some bats and things like that. So to me, I don't see a problem with it. But anything that sparks a debate, I guess, is you know, It's how it goes, man. But yeah, no, I don't see a problem with it at all.
No, and listen, these baseball players are not stupid. They're smart. Like I'm sure these guys have messed around with those type of bats in the hitting cage all the damn time. They just never use
Hmm.
it on the field. Like it was almost one of those things like, hey, I really want to use this bat, but I'm waiting for somebody else to start it first. And I think once the
Hmm.
Yankee players started using it, like Volpe and Chisholm, it was like, okay, cool. I just needed to see somebody else do it first. Now I'm gonna do it. So that's the way I see it. I know not everybody, really outside of the sport sees it like that, which I guess is okay. But um, the Yankees are not gonna hit like that every game. They're not. Like these pitchers
No,
in baseball are really good. Like they're gonna make adjustments and they're gonna find that dead spot in Chisholm's bat. They're gonna find it.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
like I said, it was the worst possible. First of all, it was well, other than the Dodgers, it was like the worst possible team to start using these with the Yankees with everything
It
that
was.
it was like. If, I don't think there would have been that much outrage if like the Pirates or the Royals or something started using it. Honestly, if it was one of these lower market teams, people around baseball would have said, "Oh, that's so smart. What a way to, innovate the game." But if it was the Dodgers, Yankees, or like Boston or something doing it, everybody would have been enraged. Oh, they're cheating. How could you do this? It's just like, and then like I said, like the Yankees are not going to hit like that every game, and you saw that. I think so. I mean, not everybody's going to have success with it too. I don't know,
Yeah,
but so for some
yeah,
players,
and
maybe it's not for them. Look at Judge; it's not for him. Like Judge said, he's not using them because he doesn't need it. So
yeah. Exactly. And you also got to remember too, like these bats are not a cheat code to hitting homers or anything like that. It's the fact that like you're having more wood at the top of the bat. I'm taking Jazz Chisholm an example here. He got more wood at the top of his bat, where if he hits it, and you kind of mentioned it, if these pitchers start making adjustments and that ball hits right on the neck of the bat, he's going to get jammed. And it's probably going to be a whole lot worse. He's going to have that stinging in his hands
yeah,
if he gets jammed with a bat like that. It's not for everybody, but for Jazz, if he can continue to make adjustments and really hit that ball in the sweet spot, he's going to get that higher exit velocity. He's going to hit more homers. And that's why you can really see a 30-30 type season out of Jazz Chisholm if he truly puts his mind to it. It's these bats, they're great, for the player itself. But if it doesn't work for you or your team, then you don't use them. But there's no real outrage here that is warranted in the Yankees case because it's in the rule book. Everybody can use them.
right.
Right.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Um, Jerks and Profar. 80-game suspension. That news just broke about literally 2 hours ago. I couldn't be happier, to be honest with you. Listen, I know what a piece of shit, huh? I know. He got paid 3 years, 42 million. He'll be all right. But it was a little fishy to me. Now listen, he got suspended, I guess, for something in the off season. So this was not while he was at San Diego. But to me, it's a little ironic, a little fishy that he's been in the league for 10 seasons already. Wasn't didn't do much of anything. Had this career year last year with the Padres. And then he gets paid this off season, and then he gets busted for PEDs. I don't know. It's a little fishy to me. I'm just saying, I think he's been hanging. I think he was taking too much advice from Fernando Tatis Jr. So, um, Will Smith bullied Jerkson Profar into taking performance enhancing drugs. I know that's probably not true, but I'm dying. I'm sticking with it. I need to. I need it. And listen, you know, again, this just makes that Padres seem so much worse to me because they really
Hmm.
rallied around him. Mr. Irrelevant. They made T-shirts. Jackson Merrill was still wearing that damn T-shirt over the weekend. I don't think you're gonna see that anytime soon. I think he probably threw that in the garbage can already. But um, I don't know. Listen, um, Jerks and Profar talked a lot of shit last year. You know, I don't want to say you got what you deserve, but and then he gives you the statement, "Oh, I didn't know I was taking anything illegal." Shut up. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You don't give me that. Yes, you did. You have to know. These players are not stupid. Like they
Hmm.
have to know. Like, hey, are you sure what I'm taking is legal? Are you sure? Like they have to know that hey, I could get busted for this. But you took it anyways. So, uh, he is now ineligible for the postseason. He will be able to return after 80 games, which is sometime in July. So basically, we won't see him until after the All Star break. But this feel good story, really in San Diego, nowhere outside of baseball. But this feel good story with Jerickson Profar, who who's kind of been like a journeyman, had this career year last year, and the Padres and their fans were rallying around him, and then he gets busted for PEDs. Like I said, you know, let's go. I want to go test Jackson Merrill now. Let's go test him. I'll go to San Diego and test him myself. I'll bring Commissioner Manfred with me too and everything. We'll get him tested. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. And I feel bad for the Braves because he was supposed to play a big role for this team
Yeah.
this year. And listen, I understand he's going to be back for the second half, but it's frustrating. I know it has to be frustrating if you're a Padres fan, because you thought that you were gonna have Profar for a full 162 games. The energy that he brings in the outfield, the defense that he plays, and the bat that yeah, were you taking a risk with giving him 3 years, $42 million? You were, but something maybe he found something last year, and now it's kind of all put into question. But I feel bad for the Braves because not only do they lose Jerickson Profar for 80 games, but they're off to a horrible start. Off to a horrible start. They got swept by San Diego, and now they're coming here to Dodger Stadium for 3 games with this gauntlet of a Dodgers team. So you can't lose the division in March and April, but you could definitely put yourself in a deep hole. And if the Braves are not careful here, that is exactly what's going to happen. They're going to put themselves in a deep hole in a division with the Phillies that I picked to win the division, and a Mets team that is not that bad either. So that's my 2 cents. Kyle, you go for it. You'll be probably a little bit more nicer.
Yeah, no, so yeah, no, you definitely had some very valid points, especially with the suspicion of things. Because you said it perfectly. Profar has been in this league for years. And how come the one year that he pops off and earns himself a nice payday is the year that he's busted for PEDs the off season after. And um it does suck. It really does. And I'm gonna take a nicer route to this because that Padres team, it was fun last year. It was fun to buy into especially at the end of that 2024 season. They were heading into the postseason, one of the
No, they
hottest
weren't.
teams in baseball. Yeah. But and then the Braves especially. You're signing a guy who really got rallied around last year and was kind of not really the heart and soul of the team, but he was a big piece in San Diego. And he comes over to the Braves, expected to make a big part, especially with all the returning injuries. Right, you're bringing all the regular familiar faces back, and then you're adding a guy like Profar and his energy and the bat and the season he had last year. It was a recipe for success. It really was. But and you mentioned it. The Braves are off to a terrible start, which is bad for my predictions because I predicted them to win the whole damn thing. But yeah, no, I mean it's definitely it's a shitty story. Whenever you hear a player busted for PEDs, it's not what you want to hear. Obviously, you want to play the game with integrity, and you want to rally behind these guys, especially because there's young players who Profar might have been their favorite player or something like that. It's just it's not good for the game. It kind of tarnishes it a little bit, and obviously PEDs have been a big history in baseball, and unfortunately, it's still continuing. I did want to touch on how don't you know, right?
Right.
It's, so think about this: you go to the doctor, right? And you got a little stomach bug or something, and your doctor prescribes you with medicine. You kind of want to know what's in it, right? You're not putting regular shit in your body if you're testing positive for PEDs. You know what's going in there. So it's true. I don't understand how you can't know, especially with the history of PEDs. There's a reason why Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Roger Clemens is not in the Hall of Fame. It's because all these guys got busted for PEDs. I don't understand how that can still be a thing in 2025, especially with the medical staff that they
Right.
have on. on these teams and the training staff. I don't get it, man. I really don't.
And these teams advocating for cannabis too. Like there's alternative routes too. You can go.
There is, yeah.
But hey, man, I guess whatever I guess cutting corners. I guess I don't know, but um, now I don't know if you know this, but this is the same thing that got Manny Ramirez busted in '09 with the Dodgers. So you know, obviously you guys know how I feel about Manny Ramirez. So I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. So, but um,
Mhm.
yeah, it sucks if you're I don't feel bad for Profar at all because he knew what he was doing. I feel bad for the Padres. I mean, for no, I definitely don't feel bad for them. I feel bad for the Atlanta Braves because they gave him the big contract and they expected him to live up to it. And
Mhm.
I understand now, he's going to be gone for 80 games. He'll come back this season, but still, it's like, now everything that now, it does. The only thing that sucks for Profar is that now if he comes back and gets off to a crappy start, it's going to be C because it was the PEDs, which I'll
Yeah.
be right at the front of the line screaming that. So, um, but still, it sucks, and hopefully the Braves can figure this thing out because they're not careful. They could be in trouble here real fast. But um,
Yeah.
moving on to the next topic here. How about the Miami Marlins? Uh, every game that they've won this season in walk-off fashion. They took, I believe it was. See, the MLB schedule has been weird to start this season. Did they play? Uh, have they? Was it a four-game series against the Pirates, or was it
I
three?
want I want to say it was a 4 game
Four-game
series.
series, yes. Four-game series. They took three out of four from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and all three of their wins were in walk-off fashion. Um, good for them. I feel bad though because there's probably only like 100 people in the building for those games, which again I feel bad because it's like like listen, I've never been to Miami. I hear it's a beautiful city, but it's just so weird that how you know the Marlins Park or Lone Depot Park can sell out the Savannah Bananas and the World Baseball Classic, but they can't sell out for their own team. Like it just
Hmm.
makes no sense to me. But um, I know it's way too early. We still got like 155 games left here, but could the Marlins maybe scare some teams a little bit? And listen, everybody wanted, when Garrett Cole went down, everybody, including Kyle, wants Sandy Alcantara in a Yankee uniform. Um,
Hmm.
maybe could the Marlins shock some teams a little bit here, or is this just hey, like you just kind of got off to a I don't want to say lucky because that's not the right word, but like
Yeah.
listen, this is not sustainable walking off teams all the time. But
Hmm.
who knows? Maybe this Marlins team will be a little bit more competitive this year. And they didn't do anything in the offseason and they downsized with their roster. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. And we go into every single year thinking about like what teams could be that Cinderella type team. Hey, if the Marlins see, this is the big thing. Baseball is also a mental game. It's not just the physical aspect of putting bat to ball or, ball to glove type of thing. It's also a mental thing. If this Marlins team keeps having these type of victories, there's a chance that this clubhouse could be like, yo, we're in this too, So it's also the mental piece to it that these players can really get behind, this Cinderella type thing and say, why not us? Um, for me, it's the Nationals this year. I think they could make some noise. Um, but yeah, it's there's no telling what things like this can do for a team, especially in a clubhouse. And the Marlins could very well be that team.
yep, without question. And like I said, we'll see how much they can keep this up. But again, like hey, you're 3-1 right now. If you're the Marlins, you just try to stay above water. That's really all you can ask for your
Yeah,
team. And like you said, like yeah, winning can be contagious, and they can say, hey, screw it, let's go out there and maybe we can win some games here. But we'll see. But definitely, keeping an eye on them for these next couple weeks. Colton Cowser out for 6 to 8 weeks, hurt his thumb. That sucks. Listen, this Orioles team, and I didn't pick them to make the playoffs, so um, they're already thin as it is. Yeah, they have. I'm not big on their starting pitching, and outside of and Henderson's hurt. I mean, yeah, Gunnar Henderson has started the season on the IL, so they're already thin in that lineup. And now you lose Colton Cowser for 6 to 8 weeks. That's a backbreaker. And again, they're in a very gauntlet of a division where I mean, listen, I think as long as the Yankees can hit and get decent enough pitching, they're going to be in a playoff spot. And then, you know, the Red Sox might team to get to the ALCS. They got off to a bad start against the Rangers over the weekend, but um, how big of a loss this is for Baltimore? Like, is this nothing or something? Because I think it's something because they're already thin as it is with their lineup. And again, I just told you a second ago, I'm not big on their pitching this year. Um, Obviously, it's a next man up mentality, but again, the Orioles, another team that they gotta be careful, man. Like they could, you know, they can get in a hole here in the division, like in the American League East. So, just
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And this is, I think, a big part of why we've seen Baltimore have success is the fact that they're such a young team and they're relying on each other. It goes back to the clubhouse mentality. I think these young guys, they are studs and they deserve to be here. But I do think that young core really plays a part in this. And, the guys like Adley, we had Grayson Rodriguez, we have Gunnar Henderson, these young Jackson Holiday now, these young guys who are part of this Orioles core, I feel they're better when they stick together. These guys can't be going down and, Adley being the only youngster on that team, type of thing. So yeah, no, it's a huge loss for Baltimore, and they've obviously gotten off to a slow start. Not what they want, but yeah, I this it continues to push the narrative that was Baltimore really a fluke? You know, did they not really put it together? We don't know yet, but
they had a bad
obviously
second
still a
half
very
last
young team.
season.
They did. Yeah, absolutely. And if they continue to build off of that bad second half and have a bad start to the season, like you said, this Yankee team can still bring up some wins. Even though I switched my division winners last week and things like that, I still think this Yankee team can make some noise. And we all know what we think about Boston. We don't know about Toronto, and Tampa Bay is always trying to figure it out. So, yeah, you got to get back on the right foot here and really start to have some games being put together.
Speaking of the Yankees, Kyle, give your Yankees update.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much. We kind of touched on it with their torpedo bats, but they shocked me over the weekend. I'll tell you that. It's
Welcome
our
back,
our starters
Nestor
really.
Cortez.
Oh my God, I know. Obviously you had Goldie in there. You had
Lead
Cody
off.
Bellinger. Yeah, seriously, Aaron Judge. I mean, Judge has been off to a monster start. That's what I expected out of him. But I will say though, I really like what I've been seeing out of Cody Bellinger. And we talked about it with Bellinger of could he even produce what like a sample size of what Juan Soto can produce with the Yankees? And he has so far, and I really like that. I want them to continue to build off of that. Um, the pitching scares me a little bit. I feel the pitching got overlooked because the Yankees popped off for fucking 60 runs in the last 3 days. But the pitching scares me a little bit. Max Fried didn't look good. Marcus Stroman didn't look great, and Carlos Rodon on opening day he didn't. He got knocked around a little bit. I don't like that part of it. If the offense continues to pick up the pitching, yeah, great. But I don't know if that's sustainable. So overall, I really like what the offense is doing. I need the pitching and the defense to tighten up the ship a little bit. But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't know how much I can complain. That offense really kind of set the tone for me this for the start of the season.
Right, and another thing that concerns me, I don't know if he was out there again in the rest of the series against Milwaukee, but Devin Williams really concerned me Thursday.
Yeah,
That took him almost 50 pitches to get 3 outs, and he almost blew the game on Thursday, on opening day.
he did.
Like, I'm starting to ask myself, like, was that disaster of a ninth inning in the wild card series against the Mets in Game Three last year? Was that just, hey, you know what, the Mets, they beat me. Like, I had a bad day. You know, they got a couple hits, and then Pete Alonso got the big knock to make it 3-2. Or was that a little bit more of like, hey, like, maybe, Devin Williams is not as good as maybe we think he's going to be. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I still think Devin Williams is going to be a top closer in the American League and in all of baseball. But I was a little concerned after what I saw on Thursday. Now, granted, it was against his former team, so they've all seen him. So maybe I'm making too much into this, but I was nervous for Devin Williams out there on on Thursday, and I'm not even a Yankees fan. I was nervous for him, but couldn't find the strike
Yeah,
zone.
no, no, absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm gonna chalk it up as like new team jitters. You're facing your old team on opening day. Like that's a tall task, you know. And Devin Williams came up through the system in Milwaukee. He, you know, reliever of the year, the whole 9 yards with Milwaukee. I believe he was there for 6 years in the majors. Um, so I'm gonna chalk it up as that, but I am keeping a mental note on Devin Williams. I cannot go through another Clay Holmes situation for
Yeah.
all these years, man. I I love the move when we got him. He's a lockdown closer, one of the top in baseball. I'm going to chalk it up as opening day jitters and all the extra circumstances, but it is something I'm going to be keeping watch on.
All right, and lastly, before we get out of here, I am just gonna give my Dodgers update. I know I kind of did that at the beginning of this, but um, they swept the Tigers. They beat Tarek Skubal on opening day, which I was very concerned because ever since I started working here at the stadium in 2022, they have not lost on opening day. And when I saw that the Tigers were coming to town for the opening weekend, and I saw that Tarek Skubal was undoubtedly going to get the ball on opening night, I was a little nervous. Like, damn, my streak might come to an end here. But the Dodgers showed you that they can win in so many different ways. Like, Screwball, he pitched okay. He was good. He wasn't great, but some of the Dodger hitters, especially the lefties, were kind of struggling a little bit. But all it took was for a couple guys to get on, and boom, Teoscar got a hold of one that and the thing that is so scary about this Dodger team and for opposing pitching staffs is that Tarek Skubal was good. He wasn't great, but he left two fastballs in the zone that the Dodgers destroyed and they hit him for home runs. Tommy Edman got a hold of one to get the scoring going, and then his second bad pitch was to Teoscar, and it was more costly because it was a 3-run home run and that gave the Dodgers the lead. Um, you know, uh, Another thing, Roki Sasaki. I know he is getting destroyed by every fan who is not a Dodger fan. I just want to say this right here. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. I know he struggled on Saturday, and I was very much looking forward to seeing him. I'm gonna chalk it up as nerves. And listen, he is not a finished product. Like, remember, Roki Sasaki came here kind of early. He probably should have came to the majors in 2026 or 2027. He's still young. Like, when Yamamoto came here, he was a finished product. When Shohei Ohtani came here to America, he was a finished product. Roki Sasaki is not. He's very green, and honestly, if his name wasn't Roki Sasaki and if he didn't come from Japan, he would have started in the minors. You want to know how I know that? Because Hae-Sung Kim is in the minors right now at AAA. So just give it time. He's gonna be fine. Trust me, he's gonna be fine. I have no question that this kid is legit. He's gonna be great. He just has to get his command orders and issues in order, and I think he will. But give it maybe a month or two. I think he's gonna be great. And the Dodgers have this luxury of where they can throw him out there every fifth or sixth day, and they have all these other guys. Like, they have a lethal bullpen, which they were able to cover for him on Saturday. And then, right? I know, hopefully, knock on wood, everything stays okay. But Glasnow's pitching today. Blake Snell is gonna come out there. Like, they have all these pitchers that they can go to. So I have no doubt that Roki Sasaki is gonna clean some things up. And when I see him out there again, I have no doubt in my mind that he's gonna figure it out eventually. Don't give up on this kid after one start. I know every fan did that with Yamamoto last year, and look how it turned out. gave me a banner down here in left in right field. So let's take it easy on the hate a little bit. But overall, Dodgers great. It was a fun weekend, man. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I texted to you. I got emotional. I was crying. I was kind of tearing up when I saw the flag go up in center field and when I saw the banner down in right field. Like man, like you know, every Dodger fan. And that's the thing for me. I was more emotional for the banner ceremony on Thursday than the ring ceremony on Friday because for the rings, that's for the players. Like 95% of the Dodger fan base is never going to see those rings. That's for the players. That's for their heart, all the blood, sweat, and tears they put in the last season to win a championship. That's their day. That's for them. The flag in center field and the banner in right field, that's for everybody, but as a fan I can relate to that a lot more because it's like I was here all last year. I got to see the Dodgers beat I got to see the Dodgers win the division. I got to see the Dodgers beat a cocky Padres team. I got to see the Dodgers beat a miracle Mets team. And I got to see one of the greatest moments in MLB history, Freddie Freeman in Game One of the World Series with my own two eyes. So and I was here every single night. From the beginning of March until the end of October. So I got really emotional, and I'm glad that almost everybody was in their seats to be able to see it. Because when the Dodgers had this in 2021, California was still under COVID restrictions. So it wasn't a full house. If you go back and watch the ring ceremony, it was a beautiful day, but the building was half empty because California was under COVID, still under big, they didn't want big crowds yet, you know, unlike these other states. So it was so nice for the stadium to be full, and it was so nice that the Dodgers did a great job of putting it on as a show, and it was just a tremendous weekend, and it was a reminder of our championship last season, and it was nice to put a wrap on it because I know the players, they're I know they're probably tired of it. Do they appreciate the banner and the rings? Don't get me wrong, I know they do, but I know in the back of their minds, like, all right, like we want to move on to, we want to try and repeat as champions in 2025. But it was an emotional weekend. It was so much fun. It was everything that I envisioned during the off season of what the ring and what the ceremony was going to look like. But um, I'm glad that we can kind of move on from it now. I'm glad that we're done with everything and we can just focus on trying to win in 2025. Which right now 5-0. Whoa, almost dropped it. Right now 5-0. They're off to a great start, and I think it's going to continue. So there you go. That's my little Dodger update right there for you. The only thing that I was surprised and disappointed by, I really thought the ring was gonna say "not like us." I thought somewhere on the ring it was gonna say that, and it didn't because that was the Dodgers song. Like they're still playing it. They're still playing that song. Like they have when the Dodgers are getting this season when the Dodgers are getting introduced to the crowd. They're saying the starting. They're announcing the starting lineups. They have the instrumental beat to "Not Like Us" while they're announcing the lineup. So it's kind of cool. And shout out to Ice Cube. He has turned into the mascot of the damn Dodgers. That was
I
so
saw
sick of
that.
him coming out in the lowrider car out of center field with the trophy and everything. That was really cool, and it was awesome to see the Dodgers in those beautiful gold uniforms. Man, you take one of the most iconic jerseys, not just in baseball but in sports, and you put gold on it. Oh, it was fantastic, baby. Oh yes, but they're not wearing them anymore. They're going back to their normal, which is fine. They don't have to wear that every day. But um, unless you got anything else, Kyle, I think that's gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah, I think that's it, man.
First one at the stadium. I'm very excited. We got to do this. This is tradition. I have to show you. Oh, look at that. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely gorgeous right there. Look at that.
Absolutely.
You got the gold logo behind home plate with the Dodge logo. It's gorgeous. Yes, you got the Braves out here warming up. Dodgers just finished about 20 minutes ago. It's beautiful, man. Baseball is back. I am happy to be back here at Dodger Stadium, and I'm just happy I'm here, man. I'm just happy to be back here, man. And it's been fun the last couple nights, and no doubt it's gonna continue to be fun as the season progresses. And shout out to Tommy Edmond too. He's your NL MVP right now.
Absolutely.
I think he's
Definitely.
second in home runs behind Judge.
I think so. Yes.
So Shout out to all the players, man. They're kicking ass, and hopefully it'll continue this week with the Braves and the Phillies too in Philly. So I'll be interested in that. But Kyle, unless you got anything else, I think we're done here.
I think so, man. I think that's it.
All right then. Well, thank you for listening. You'll hear it tomorrow. Continue to look out for our posts. We are back doing Play of the Game, which we are very excited about, as you can probably imagine. Baseball's here. We're back, man. It feels good to finally been able to watch some games on my TV again. So uh,
Yeah,
that's gonna do it for episode. I don't even know what number this is. 121 or
21.
122. 121. Uh, Thank you so much for listening or watching. However you do, continue to look out for our stuff. We appreciate it. And I'll see you again next week, and we'll be back in my normal spot in my home. So uh, we'll see you again next week. Adios.